Guys, I've been so stoked to tell you the recent updates of the last week of my life. But I first wanted to say in my previous episode where I talked about my lovely coworker that we had coffee together and all of the wisdom that she just reminded me of, I had told you that I would update you guys on my state of mind since going through the week, kind of thinking, okay, we're taking one step at a time. I'm letting life lead me in this direction. And honestly, I think that mindset shift really worked. I am in my menstrual cycle right now, TMI. And last week, I guess I was in my luteal. So things were a little bit more emotional. And normally around that time, and then even in my cycle now, I do get really flustered. I get emotional, but having the mindset of like taking a pause, knowing that I can take one step at a time and everything that's meant to be will be, and I will just let life show me, and I can only do so much, really helped me. And like remembering that was truly pivotal of last week. And yeah, I just wanted to update you on that. I mean, it worked, and I'm going to continue to remember to do that and try to take my own advice, because I feel like I give out a ton of advice on the pod, but then also in my personal life to all of the people around me. And, it's easier said than done, as I always say, and taking your own advice is often the hardest. But that mindset shift, I think, just really changed things for me last week. And so I want to continue moving forward with that. And normally I get flustered around this time and have a bit of a breakdown, but things have been a little bit lighter, which is great. But I also wanted to share with you guys that I have a family doctor now in BC, and I'm stoked about it. And for those of you in Alberta that don't really know the healthcare system in BC, it's like extremely hard to find a family doctor. I have known people here that have lived here for years and still don't have a family doctor. And so I feel very grateful that, we're almost 4 years into living here and I finally found one. Granted, I did go online. I think it was like BC Health Services or something, where I registered to basically sign up to put myself on a wait list. And then when an available practitioner was available to take on patients, they would notify me. And so I got a notification, I think last week. And then yesterday, I just had my meet and greet with my new doctor, and she seems great. So I can't wait to have like a go-to for, all of my requisitions, and to actually have an annual checkup there, because I was low-key still doing it when I'd go home for Christmas in Calgary, but it's just so much easier to have one here. And so I'm pumped about that. And then also another thing, I went to the dentist the other day. I'm doing so many things for my health. I love this. And he gave me the biggest compliment. He asked me if I whiten my teeth, because my teeth are extremely white. And I used to whiten my teeth, but I told him that I hadn't in, I want to say 4 or 5 years it's been since I've actually whitened them. So pretty proud of myself that the dentist complimented me. I feel like that's a big compliment. Anyways, guys, I'm so excited that we're here together. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Soulful Living with Megs. And this one, I feel like I'm so excited to kind of bring this into our time together. And I wanted to start potentially a little series of what being single has taught me in life, and then also my dating experiences that I've had and what they've taught me as well, because I feel like it's important. I've learned a lot by being single, and I've also learned a lot with having relationships that didn't work out. I hesitate to use the word fail, because I don't think that I want to look at it in the way of I've failed, or a relationship that I've had with somebody has failed, because ultimately every relationship that I've been in with somebody, a connection, something long-term, something short-lived, has always led to a lesson and has always brought me closer to myself at the end of the day, I think, even if those lessons were extremely heartbreaking and difficult to go through. So I hope that throughout these stories of dating that I'm going to share with you, I hope that they can bring some comfort and some giggles, because I've had some crazy dating experiences. I feel like we all have, but I ultimately hope that it reminds you that you're not alone. And if you have gone through something similar or have learned something similar, that will provide some comfort for you. And I think today, at least for the first part of this series, is I've thought about 3 lessons that I want to share you with a little bit of backstory with those as well. But I mean, we don't have to have a specific set number of lessons each episode in this series. I may only have 1 or 2 for the next one, or a few, depending upon kind of what I want to bring forth. But I'm hoping that it kind of resonates with you. And if it doesn't, please let me know. But I feel like we all have experiences in dating, because like life is all about connection and coming together and experiencing things with one another. So I feel like this would be so fun and a good way to talk through some things that I've learned. But I guess to start, I'll share a little bit about like a backstory of me in case you don't really know. But I've been like single the majority of my life, I'd say. And I'm 26 now, but I never really had an actual relationship in high school. And, you know, I've had crushes on people. Don't get me wrong. I've had like things or flings, whatever you want to call it. But I never really had a relationship with anybody. Like I've never called somebody in high school like my boyfriend, you know? And I think one of the reasons why was I was really, really busy with my extracurriculars. You know, I grew up dancing, and I was dancing a lot. And on top of the dancing, I was trying to maintain good grades, and I was trying to maintain my friendships, and I was also going back and forth between my mom and my dad's house because my parents are divorced. And so I really didn't have a ton of time to date. And I don't know, it was also kind of scary for me too, because I grew up as an only child. And so I didn't really get to see any siblings experience that, you know? And it's not like I didn't want to date. Like, as I've said, I've had crushes in high school, and I think it's so fun. And even in junior high, I had crushes on boys. And I think I wanted a relationship. And I always thought like, yeah, it would almost be like the next year I'd be like, yeah, it's this year's the time and I'm going to find a relationship. But I don't know, it's always kind of been tricky for me. And I don't know if that's the expectations I have. I don't know if it's, again, because I was focusing on me and my dancing and things like that, or it could have been because of my childhood wounds, which we'll definitely get into. I don't know. There's so many things, but I was preoccupied with a lot of things. But I actually got into my first real relationship when I was 18. So I guess like relatively quickly out of high school. And this person was probably the only person that I ever truly felt that I fell in love with, and felt like I've experienced the feeling of loving someone in a romantic way. And we weren't actually like the label dating. We weren't dating, I guess, for even that long. Officially, we dated for about 3 months, and then we kind of broke up, which that was like my first heartbreak and seriously broke my heart, as I'm sure you guys know, and you've been through heartbreak, and it sucks, especially when it's the first person that you feel you've truly loved in your life, or at least the idea of love. But like when we broke up, we didn't really stop talking. Like, so we were kind of on and off, and then we were dating other people, and then we would find our way back to each other, and like we were constantly on and off. So I guess it was a little bit of a toxic cycle of kind of always going back to each other. I wouldn't say that we were toxic as people. Like, I don't think we were ever verbally disrespectful or anything like that. But I think I was so naive, being so young, being like, this is the love of my life. And I thought that because we kept coming back to each other over and over again, that he was meant to be in my life forever, and that we were going to get married and all of that. And, you know, it was a tricky relationship to kind of navigate, because at the same time, he was also of a different religion than me, which I was okay with and he was okay with, I thought. But his parents we're very traditional, and I think I always knew deep down that I would never be able to fulfill the role that they had for a wife of their son. And I mean, I totally respect that they wanted somebody different for him. And so with that, like I was never going to be able to change myself in that way to fit that mold. And I also don't think that he wanted me to change in that way. I don't think that was the idea, but I think because we were both so young and this was my first real idea of love and the first person that I experienced many important things that you would in a relationship with someone, I think all of that kind of clouded over is this actually right for me? Why are we constantly ending things and finding our way back? Like, that's probably not healthy. And ultimately, I won't end up with him anyways because his family would never accept that because I am not that traditional role that they would want for him. And I mean, with that, like, because of that, I was hidden from half of his life the entire time that we were together. And I've met one of his siblings, and I don't actually know if his other siblings ever knew about me. I'm not really sure if his parents really knew about me. I don't think so, but I was hidden from people that mattered the most to him, and I think that hurt me very, very deeply inside because, growing up with divorced parents, I always had the idea that my significant other, I would be integrated in their family, heavily because I love just like being with family and I want to develop a very, very close relationship, one that was maybe closer than the relationship that I have with my own parents. But anyways, long story short, you could probably imagine that it didn't work out, and it didn't. We went through a cycle. At least I went through a cycle of really wanting and fighting to have this person in my life when I was 18. And then I would say until about 22, I finally was like, okay, I don't think that you are serving me anymore. And this has to be a full break. And I developed a lot of anxiety in that relationship. I am not going to blame that on him at all. I think that I was not putting myself first, but he showed a ton of inconsistencies on his end, and I don't think he'll mind me saying that if he ever hears this one day. That's no disrespect, but I think that he'd agree that I was giving a lot more than what I was receiving, and a lot of his words and actions were not lining up. And so I ultimately was allowing behavior to happen that I knew I wasn't okay with. But because I was so in love with this man or the idea of him, I did not want to lose him. And I think I thought back then that having him in my life in some capacity, even if it brought me anxiety, even if it brought me pain, was better than nothing. Like I just remember all of the sleepless nights that I had in that relationship or loving that person. I remember bawling to my mom one day because I could not do it anymore. And I never really talked to my mom about my relationships with anybody. It was always a weird topic to kind of bring up. And I just remember crying in her arms, and let alone the tears that I shared with my friends over and over again, where they would see me go through this cycle. But all of that to say brings me to one of the first lessons that I wanted to share with you, is that you can love someone so much, but if they are not meant for you, or they can't love you in the same capacity that you deserve, no amount of love that you give will ever be enough. And that's not to say that you are not enough. And that's not to say you aren't bringing enough. But I mean that you can love as you wholeheartedly, but if they aren't right for you, love will never be enough. And it makes sense. And it was because I was never meant to end up with him. And I know that now. I know that now being out of this relationship. And I know that because I had to get to that point where it hurt so bad that I came to that realization on my own, even if the people around me knew for a long time that he wasn't meant to be with me. But it took me as an individual years to understand that. And seeing the bigger picture is so difficult when you're right inside of it. And it just goes to show that I have so much capacity to give, but if I'm giving it to the wrong person, it will not be enough for them. And that's okay. Because I know now that I don't want to have those sleepless nights anymore. I don't want to have to be calling somebody over and over again and them not picking up. I don't want to be told that I have too high of standards or too high of expectations and that maybe I should lower them, because ultimately that means that I'm giving you so much because I can fill my cup and I can overflow it, but maybe I'm overflowing yours because our capacity to give and receive is not the same. And I realized in this relationship that love shouldn't be that hard. And I also know that love should never be that hard and will never be that hard for the right person, because of all of the genuine love that my friends show me and that I give to my friends. All of the people in my life that I surround myself with, like my dream come true friends that I have, they match that love to me and my love that I give. And they've shown that love to me by sticking by my side for years and being there for me when I needed them. And even my friends who have been there for me, my best friends who've been with me through this relationship that I just shared with you, I know that they are meant to be in my life because they've been through that with me and they've loved me through it as hard as I've loved them. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's the cliche thing to say that if you can love someone that's wrong for you, imagine how much love you can give to the right person. But it is so true. And, you know, I spent a lot of time loving that man very deeply, and he was never meant to be my person at the end of the day. I think he was meant to receive my love. I think that everybody that comes into my life is meant to receive the love that I give, maybe as a reminder that they are deserving of love and that I just have so much capacity to give. But I know now that I can love someone so much, but if they aren't meant for me, then me loving them won't ever be enough for them to stay and be the person that I know I deserve to have in my life. I guarantee you, though, a few more lessons that I'll probably share with you have a lot to do with that relationship, because I learned a ton from it. I mean, it was up and down for 5 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. It was a long time. And I think I lost myself in it too. And that's something we can absolutely talk about in future episodes too with this series, is that I think a lot of people in the wrong relationships lose part of themselves, and being out of it and being single and focusing on me has really allowed me to come back and find myself in a lot of ways. So I very much, as sad as that time is to look back on, in the sense of I look at that girl, I look at who I was when I was 18, and I just want to give her a huge hug. I want to tell her that everything's going to be okay, and that I just want to hug her when she was crying so much over somebody that couldn't love her in the way that she needed. My goodness. Anyways, let's move on to the second lesson that I have for you today, is that, and this is something that I've learned since being in a connection with somebody, is that if someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. If they tell you they cannot give you what you need, you should believe them the first time. So I had a beautiful connection with somebody last summer, and it only lasted for about a month, I'd say, maybe just over. But I've actually known this person for about 3 years. I met him during my first winter when I moved to Vancouver. And we actually only met once, and we didn't really actually connect that much when we met in person the first time, but we connected online on Instagram, and then that kind of turned into a texting situationship there. We connected a lot online, and we talked for a bit, I want to say a couple months, and then we kind of stopped talking, and him and I went through a cycle of being in contact and then not being in contact. I mean, life gets in the way. He went traveling at the time when we first disconnected, and then I just don't think we were in the same stage of life to really meet up and reconnect. And I don't know if it was because we had only seen each other in person once, but And then the connection we kind of shared online was kind of hard to explain. Like I felt a pull to him, like an instant attraction, an instant pull. And I think I just want to side note, throughout these lessons that I'll probably share with you in this series, you'll probably see a pattern of men that I'm attracted to. And I think that we all know that, who we gravitate towards kind of stems from our childhood wounds and trauma and the love that we were shown as a kid. And I think that there was also some inconsistencies in this situationship, relationship, whatever you want to call it as well. Because I also think that, like, not having my dad consistently in my life, like, I didn't see him as much as I saw my mom. I think I thought as a kid that, like, oh, my dad's leaving me too. And so I think I kind of have attracted people who end up leaving. Anyways, that's really self-aware of me, and something I talk about a lot in therapy, and we are breaking those habits and those familiar concepts and constructs that I've developed since I was a kid, subconsciously, and we're working towards it. We are doing better now of breaking those patterns. But anyways, I think that us connecting and then disconnecting online, and the idea of like, oh, I actually haven't seen you in person, so we haven't been able to explore any of our connection that we've shared with him. Like, I've always felt this pull, and I always thought that, what if, in the back of my mind, because we weren't meeting in person, I don't know. I think if we're able to connect so deeply in this intense way online, like, what is that going to look like in person? So I think we were always gravitating towards each other, or maybe it was just on my end and he liked the attention. I don't know. But we went, I don't know, a long time since our last disconnection. I want to say it was like a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. I don't know. But I reached back out to him fall of 2023, I want to say. And I had recently moved again, because I pretty much move every year since I've been here. And we made plans to meet in person. And I was like extremely nervous, I remember, because it had been probably 2 years since we had met the first time. And the first time didn't really count. As I said, we didn't really actually talk. I think I told him my name and that was pretty much it. But we met in person and it was great. It was a nice hangout, like super casual, very warm energy. And then we made plans to hang out the following weekend. And I was like so excited to see him again. I remember we had plans to do like face masks and just have like a chill night in. And I remember going to the mall. I remember walking to the mall because I lived close to it, and I bought us like these face masks from Lush, and I was so excited to have this time, but he ended up canceling. Rude. Honestly, we're on good terms now, so it's okay that I'm saying that, but he was also kind of inconsistent in that way, where I feel like he really enjoyed the attention that I was giving to him, and then he'd show me that attention back, but then I don't know if he would get scared, but he'd retreat back into his shell. And I've since learned that he is a very solitude individual and he likes to be on his own. And I don't know if there's a fear of people getting too close to him, of truly seeing and knowing who he is. I'm not really sure, but anyways, he canceled plans, and then that kind of led us to not talk for, I want to say, months after that. And then I reached back out to him July of 2024, maybe end of June. Apparently, I'm really persistent when I want something or somebody. I just keep reaching out. Maybe I should have got the memo back then. But anyways, this is all about learning and growing. But I reached back out to him, and during this time, like months prior, I was going on dates with other people. I was trying to like have a summer of outside, as Tinks would say. I was on dating apps and trying to navigate that world. I have stories for you about that as well, because dating apps are quite interesting. But yeah, we reconnected, I guess, beginning of July, and then kind of stayed in contact for the entire time for that month, and like actually hung out in person. I ended up going to watch a performance of his, because he's also kind of in the same industry. I don't know. I feel like that's giving it away. Anyways, I watched him perform something very near and dear to his heart. And gosh, I traveled so far to see that too. My goodness, look at me go. Like literally, I had to take an Uber and it was kind of expensive, low key, because it was like in a different city than Vancouver. Anyways, he ended up taking me home that night, like driving me home because it was so far and late at night. And prior to this, like we had never had like any other moment of intimacy other than like hugging, but we kind of like extended it further than that. And he kissed me for the first time finally. And I'm telling you guys this because, as I was saying, like I always felt this pull to him and this like instant attraction online that I just knew that an in-person experience would be more enhanced, and like it was pretty much exactly how I imagined it to be. And I just had this inner knowing that we would click, and honestly it felt truly magical, like kind of out of a movie magical. Anyways, that kind of spiraled into us hanging out all of July, and it was really a great time, and we'd have sleepovers and just talk for hours on end, and just like our connection was so wonderful and very intellectual. And I like when I can connect intellectually with other humans. I think it's so cool to see how their brain works and all of that. But anyways, long story short, he kind of did end up doing what he's always done in the past, which was retreating back to himself. And I don't think I scared him by being so open and like pouring so much love and care into somebody, because I think that he always knew that like I am this human that just gives so much, and that's okay that I give so much. But he retreated, and because he's a smart human, I think he was self-aware enough to know that with all of this love that I was giving him, that he couldn't give me exactly what I needed and deserved. In his own words, because he's too selfish. And so he ended up breaking it off with me and telling me like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't fulfill this role that I know that you deserve, and I can't be this person for you because I am too selfish, and I need to focus on me, and I want to focus on myself first, and I will not be able to juggle you in the mix of that. I won't be able to put you as a priority as high as I'm putting myself. And you know what? As hard as it was to hear that, I respected it so much because he was honest with me about how he felt. Granted, I'm hoping, I don't think he thought that he wouldn't be able to do it in, the previous times that he's retreated. I think that we were meant to kind of explore something further in a romantic sense, for then him to be like, oh, I actually can't do that because she's giving me all of this unconditional support and I can't give that back to her, and it was sad at the time. I remember leaving the connection with him like upset about it, of course, but also content in the fact that like I know exactly where you stand. I appreciate that you're being honest with me, and I respect that you want to put yourself as a priority and focus on you. Like I get it. I want to focus on me too, but I also know that like I'm the type of person that if I find somebody and I connect with them, I will put them as a priority as well as myself. You know what I mean? But I kind of think that I had to learn in that way with him. We had to make it to that point so that I could learn that I needed to believe him when he said, I can't give you what you need. And I couldn't force him to do that. Like I could have probably begged or forced to be like, let's try it. Why don't we try again? Why don't we take some time apart and come back to each other and see if this time would be right? But I don't believe that he was meant to be my person either, because maybe at the time I believed that he could have been the right person, wrong time. I know now that if he were my right person, that there would have not been a wrong time, that there would have been a way to make it so that it would work. You know what I mean? But I learned so much from that connection, and I appreciate him so much. And I think we have a great friendship now, and like we don't really talk often, but when we connect, it is so nice to come together and hear about his life. And just me knowing exactly where I stand, that this person will not be able to give me that. But he also showed me so much at the same time of how a woman deserves to be treated and worshiped in a lot of ways. I can separate that now and be like, okay, I can connect with you on a platonic level as friends, and I can hear about your life and pick your brain because intellectually we are still so connected, but I also know that you're not my person because you won't be able to give me what I need, and that's okay. And I think our dynamic now is great in that sense because, again, I'm not thinking what if, or what if he changes and like he comes back to me and like wants to give me that, because I think change is a lot harder than people think. Of course it is. Change is so extremely difficult, but if he was meant to be my person, it would have been the right time, and he would have shown up as that person and gave me exactly what I gave him. But I really appreciated that connection, and I learned a lot from the short time that we spent together, and he is, yeah, a very special human being, and so I hope that he believes that in himself. And if you're listening to this, I will always cherish that time with us because I think it was a really sacred time, truly. I think that it was something, that's for sure. The last lesson that I wanted to share with you is something that I learned since being single and being single for a long time and like in between relationships of working on myself, is to enjoy your own company. I spend a lot of time alone, and I mean like actually a lot of time alone. I I hang out with my friends a lot, of course, when our schedules align, but I really like my alone time. I go on walks almost every single day after work by myself. I spend time talking to you guys alone. I go to the gym alone. I take myself out on dates, and like it took me a while to be comfortable with going to the movies by myself and going to restaurants completely alone, but I love to do that now. I go to cafes alone. I go on picnics by myself. I spend so much time with myself, and the more time that I spend alone, the more I get to know me and my own interests and how to fill my own cup, and just the importance of putting myself first. And I think I've done this in almost every relationship that I've been in, and almost every connection I've shared with somebody, is that like, because I'm a giver and I love to show you my appreciation and I love to show you my love, when I get excited about a romantic connection or like a new connection with somebody, it is easy for me to kind of put them first because I'm so excited for it. Like, I think that's such a normal experience, and I feel like there's so many people that are listening to this right now that understand that feeling of putting somebody else ahead of your own needs and wants because you just want to show them like how much they're appreciated and how much you enjoy their company. And because this new experience and relationship is so new and unfamiliar, it's so fun, and you just want to always spend time with that person and explore the new connection. But I have also learned that if I'm not carving out time for myself, for just me and my needs and my wants, and I'm constantly giving and giving and giving to other people, I will run out of the ability to give at some point because my cup won't be full. You know what I mean? So I need to be able to give myself as much as I'm giving outwardly to other people, because I don't want to lose myself in a situation with somebody. Because since spending so much time with myself, like I actually really enjoy the person that I am and the person that I'm becoming, because I am kind, I am compassionate, I'm funny. I know I'm funny, at least, well, I think I'm funny, and I feel like people laugh with me, so I assume I'm funny. But I'm also disciplined, and I'm willing to put in the work to learn and grow, and I'm empathetic. And if I don't spend time, and if I didn't spend so much time alone, I might not be able to tell you confidently today that I am all those things. But I also know that being lost in connections with people, I have learned that I start to see that I am letting myself go a bit, or the responsibilities that I have that I carve out for myself when I have time, when it's just me, when I am single and not seeing anybody. I create so much time for myself. And then when I'm with somebody else, I'm like, oh, I haven't actually like cleaned my bathroom in, 2 weeks, even though I do it on a weekly basis when I'm alone, or I didn't meal prep at the time that I wanted to because I was spending so much time with this person, or I was doing their dishes and cleaning their dishes and folding their laundry when I could be folding my own because I'm just a giver and I want to help out and like I'm with them, and so I think it's so important to enjoy your own company first and to fulfill your needs within yourself first, because then you'll be able to give, and then you'll understand more of yourself and what maybe you need and how you can prioritize. And I also kind of tie into this lesson of enjoying your own company and loving yourself as who you are, because I think that's ultimately what it is. If you enjoy your company and you learn about yourself, I think you become somebody that you love. You love about yourself. You love those things that you can do for yourself. But one of my friends recently reminded me that if you're constantly attracting the same qualities in different people that you connect with, it can sometimes mean that you might be lacking those qualities within yourself, or at least maybe lacking the confidence that you contain those qualities. And so if you are attracting somebody who's ambitious and has a lot of goals and a lot of drive to them and they display a lot of independence, it might mean that you need to potentially give yourself more of those qualities and be that person for you first, because somebody won't be able to fill that void for you ultimately. I think as humans, we like to think that we can have somebody to fill a void, but ultimately it is ourselves that need to fulfill everything that we need within ourselves first. And by focusing on maintaining and possessing those qualities within you, I think it'll ultimately enhance your own self-worth and then remind you that you don't actually need somebody with these qualities to fulfill something, because you already contain those. But chances are you will find somebody, because I do think like finds like, and like-minded people are meant to meet. And so you'll ultimately attract those higher vibrational people also containing the same qualities that you possess. But you have that inner knowing of, because I enjoy my own company, because I'm spending so much time with myself, fulfilling everything that I desire, I know that even without that person by my side, I can attend to those needs that I have. But then when I come together with this human being, that we also have this shared common interest in these ambitions, that you can just be such a powerhouse. You know what I mean? But anyways, guys, those are the 3 lessons that I wanted to share with you, with my dating mishaps and things I've learned throughout the years of dating, and then also the things I've learned by being single. And I mean, it's such a work in progress. I think we always are a work in progress. And I think that's what's so beautiful about life and growth. And I will definitely dive into further dating stories and details and more lessons if you kind of liked this series. I feel like it's a fun one because I feel like there's so much to say, and I feel like I'm going to constantly have updates for you too, is because I'm single now, and I feel like I'm on a different trajectory in a way. Like I feel like I've had a breakthrough in a lot of different ways, in the sense that like I am way more assured of who I am, and I'm really, really loving the person that I'm becoming. And I think that's growth. I think that just shows that I am constantly growing and evolving. But yeah, I know I'll have more updates for you, and I kind of want to like ask my friends what advice they have too. I feel like they're always good with that kind of thing, and a different perspective is a good way to look at things as well. So I hope something in today's episode resonated with you. And of course, if it didn't, kindly leave it, and hopefully the next episode will resonate with you. But I am hoping that you can take something from today's episode, even if it was just a reminder that you're not alone and that, I'm going through things too, and I'm learning, and I have all of these lessons to learn out of heartbreak, and I think all of us do, and I think that's a part of life, even though sometimes it's so hard being inside that picture, like I said, and not knowing why something is happening or why something's ending, but just know that you will eventually be on the other side of it and understand why, even if it takes a couple years. But you guys are so incredible, and I just appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that your week is filled with endless opportunities of joy and love and light. And I'm sending all of that energy to you as always. And if you've made it to the very end, thank you so much. I love these moments of connection, and I will always remind you of that because I never want you to forget it. And I'm sure you won't, because I will always tell you. But I will probably have more updates for you next week. I am debating posting a second episode on Thursday, just one that I pre-recorded a while ago, because I love the message as well, but I kind of want to see how I feel. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to get it out. It's always good reminders, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I love you guys so much, and we will talk very, very soon. Bye.